Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. You might know me from my other channel, Nailed by Brandi. If so, thank you so much for coming over here to our new channel. I will still be posting on my nail channel, but this is something that we are finally launching. My husband and I have talked about it for quite some time now, and the day is finally here. We are starting our very own family channel. I'm so excited that we are finally starting this channel. We are going to be sharing real life, love, parenthood, and everything in between. While you will not get to meet my husband today, he will be in a video very, very soon. In today's video, I will be telling my birth story from all of the unexpected moments, emotions, and everything that led to us meeting our beautiful baby girl. Before we jump in, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can follow along on our journey as a young family. Something else I do want to mention, baby girl is actually just right over there taking a nap currently. So if I keep checking over there, that is the reason for that. And then another thing, I am 4 months postpartum today, and she is 4 months old. Well, actually 4 months and a couple days. I had her on March 7th, which we will get into all of that. But I just wanted to clarify because some of you might not know me from my nail channel, and that's totally okay. But I did start on my nail channel doing nails, but this is definitely something that my husband and I talked about doing for a very long time now, and we felt like it's finally time to start it. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. I'm so excited to share my birth story with you all. I know on my nail channel I got a lot of comments of you guys asking for like me to actually share my full birth story. So here it finally is. Again, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. This is a very fresh new channel, and we would love to grow and have you guys follow along with us on this journey. So I do have some notes only because I feel like when I am talking in front of a camera like this, and then when I'm saying something that happened 4 months ago, I knew I was just gonna have a hard time, and I was going to be rumbling and saying and kind of thinking like as I go. But I felt like with writing the notes out, I was going to be able to tell an easier story, like for you guys to follow along without me like mixing up things and then like going back and like, oh wait, that's not how it went. So I do have some notes here, so I am gonna go ahead and hold these and kind of read off of it, but still like just add in those like moments where like I'm talking to you guys. This is more so just my notes, so I don't get like totally off track, or I don't have to like say something that happened and then remember like, wait, it happened this way instead. So just wanted to say that is the reason I have these papers. One more quick thing, because having a baby, she can wake up from her nap at any time. I'm also an exclusive pumper, so if this video like changes around a little bit, maybe even changes this shirt, because sometimes our babies love to spit up and I have to change several times a day. So just announcing that, you guys know, I mean, I'm obviously sharing a birth story, but just wanted to announce that because she may wake up and I may have to feed her, do my pumping, and then like come back to the video. So it may be a little slight change, but besides the point, let me get on with Eleanor Rose's birth story. That is the name of our daughter. We decided to name her Eleanor Rose, and she was born on March 7th of this year, 2025. So on March 7th at 1 a.m., I began experiencing what I thought were just stomach cramps. Like we went to bed that night and I woke up and I was like, what is going on? Which didn't actually, like, it wasn't out of the blue for me, because throughout my entire pregnancy, I wasn't having the easiest pregnancy. Everything like that you can see on like movies or shows, I feel like that's what I was kind of expecting for pregnancy, which I did love. I absolutely loved being pregnant, and it isn't something that I would never want to do again because of my experience, but it was definitely something a lot more challenging for me than I thought it was going to be. So this is on March 7th at 1 a.m. I woke up and I was having stomach cramps. I was only 37 weeks, so still 3 weeks from my due date, and my due date being March 26th. And as a first-time mom, labor was the last thing I expected. I truly did not believe I was in labor because I was hearing like throughout my entire pregnancy, oh, you're a first-time mom, you'll go up to 40 weeks or after, you don't have to worry about like going into labor any earlier because of you being a first-time mom. So I truly did not expect that I was going to go into labor at 37 weeks. The night before on March 6th, actually before falling asleep, I was like a little nauseous. I threw up a few times, and that was just really a normal part in my pregnancy. Like I said, I didn't have the easiest or the smoothest pregnancy. Now, I'm not complaining though, because I know a lot of other people do have it worse, but something that I've always never liked is throwing up. And throughout my entire pregnancy, I was sick to my stomach. I was having morning sickness, which it should not be called morning sickness. It should definitely be considered all day sickness, because I was throwing up like in those days where I was like really nauseous. I was throwing up all day. I could barely eat anything. I was like eating crackers, cantaloupe, that was a must-have for me, cantaloupe, pretzels. Like I was having the hardest time eating for a period in my pregnancy because I was so nauseous and I was not able to keep anything down. And that actually, like, that was a very sad part of my pregnancy, because I was just so emotional at the fact that I couldn't eat anything and that I was constantly nauseous and my stomach was turning and I was throwing up. And yeah, that was not a good or fun time in my pregnancy at all. But like I was saying, the night before on March 6th, I actually had felt nauseous and I did throw up 2 times, but again, it wasn't unusual for me. So I wasn't really thinking anything of it. I was just like, oh no, is the morning sickness coming back? Because I did have it for a period of time, which I honestly can't remember when I had it. I think it was like from 8 weeks to like maybe 20 weeks where I was like really just not feeling it. Maybe it was 15, 12 weeks. I really can't remember, but pretty much throughout my entire pregnancy, I was nauseous, but there was a period in it where I was having like terrible nausea and all day sickness, and it was just terrible. So really, when that happened to me on March 6th, I did not think anything about it. I was like, oh, I'm completely fine. It's okay. I'm just, maybe the sickness is coming back and maybe I'm going to be nauseous towards the end of the pregnancy. But again, I was 37 weeks, so I was like, it's okay. I can power through this. If the nausea is coming back, I'm going to be okay. So then we did go to sleep, me and my husband. When I say we did go to sleep, we did go to bed that night because, again, I just brushed it off. But by 3 a.m., I woke up again and I was in a lot more pain. I still thought it might be something else I forgot to mention is when I woke up at 1 a.m. and I was having those stomach cramps, I thought it possibly could have been maybe like constipation or something like that, because that is something like a symptom of pregnancy that had occurred during my pregnancy, but it wasn't like crazy or anything. But I was hearing stories that I may become very constipated. So I thought maybe that it could have been just constipation at that like 1 a.m. point. But then by 3 a.m. and I woke up again in more pain, I was still thinking that it could possibly be the constipation. I was having the stomach cramps, or I was also thinking it could have possibly been Braxton Hicks contractions, because as a first-time mom, I didn't really know what to expect whatsoever, like pain-wise, how I was going to be feeling, what the different feelings were. Everybody's like, when you're in labor, you'll know you're in labor. I did not know I was in labor. I did not know whatsoever. Once it got to the point where I was in like 10 out of 10 pain, I was like, okay, something's a little odd here. Maybe I'm in labor, but I still wasn't even believing it because I was only 37 weeks. So this is your reminder that even if you're a first-time mom, pack those hospital bags. If you're 37 weeks and you're experiencing pain, possibly go get checked out in the emergency room because you may be in labor. I did not believe that, and now I wish I could go back to myself and tell myself, like, don't listen to the people telling telling you that first-time moms go to 40 weeks or beyond 40 weeks because the baby wants to come now. And I wish I would have known that because I was just hearing so many things about, oh, you're a first-time mom, it's completely okay. But anyway, back to the story here. I was nervous though. At this point, like at 3 a.m., that's when I actually became a little bit more nervous because I had woke up at 1 a.m. I went to the bathroom. I mean, throughout this time in my pregnancy, I was in the 3rd trimester. I was peeing a lot at night. I was getting up, going to the bathroom, a lot throughout the night. So, I mean, waking up at 1 a.m., it wasn't odd to me, but then when I was experiencing those stomach cramps, that was a little odd. That was different. And then by 3 a.m., when I was still experiencing the stomach cramps and I felt like more or less that I woke up because of the pain instead of because of needing to go to the bathroom. Now, of course, I did need to go to the bathroom because when you're in that 3rd trimester, if you've been pregnant, you know going to the bathroom throughout the night is insane. But I feel like I woke up because of the pain. So I was getting a little bit more nervous at this point because my previous pregnancy actually ended in a chemical pregnancy, which if you guys do want me to open up and talk about that, let me know down below in the comment section, but I'm not really going to hit on that too much in today's video because this is more focused on my birth story of Eleanor Rose. But my previous pregnancy, it did end in a chemical pregnancy. So I wasn't trying to think about it too much because I know that my chemical pregnancy, it was something that happened really early on in the pregnancy. And it did take us 5 months to then conceive again for this specific pregnancy. And I wasn't really like, it wasn't in my mind, but at the same time, I was a little bit nervous because again, I was still not thinking at all that I was in labor. Like, oh my goodness, I wish I could go back and tell myself, you are in labor, girl, go to the hospital. Because yeah, it's just insane talking about this because honestly, I feel so dumb because I was in labor and I kept telling myself I wasn't. Even though I wasn't even scared. I was not scared to be in labor. It was just the fact that everything that I was hearing as a first-time mom, oh, you're not going to be in labor until you're 40 or 40 weeks plus. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. Anyway, at the 3 a.m. point, I actually did decide to wake up my husband because I was getting a little bit more nervous. The pain was a little bit more intense. He got up right away, stayed calm while my pain worsened, and the nausea did come back. I actually was like having the nausea all the way from like 3 a.m. until like completely after I gave birth. I was like holding one of those little blue hospital bags or like the little throw up bags in my pictures because I was just extremely nauseous. I feel like my stomach, it just, anything will make it nauseous. So being pregnant, that was pretty tough on my stomach. So despite the increasing discomfort, I kept thinking this can't be labor. I'm only 37 weeks. Like, I still was telling myself that. Like, you are not in labor. It's okay. Another thing that makes me feel a little bit better and not be like, girl, what were you doing? Was the fact that at my 37-week appointment the day before, so on March 6th, I actually had my 37-week OBGYN appointment and I was not dilated at all and I was 50% effaced. The doctor told me that she expected me to go all the way to 40 weeks at that checkup or at that visit. So that was another thing. Like, I was thinking just the day before, I was at an appointment and they told me they expected me to go to the 40 weeks. I wasn't dilated and it was just, that was in the back of my head too. I was like, how could this change so fast? And in that time, I just was not convinced yet that I was in labor because of everything, like the nauseous. It wasn't really because of me being nauseous, I wasn't like, oh my goodness, this is so different for me in my pregnancy. Why is this happening now? The discomfort, I was just thinking it was like some constipation. And then just knowing that I was just at my doctor's the day before and they told me that they see me going to 40 weeks. So around this time, I feel like it was a little bit later than 3 a.m. because I feel like from 3 a.m. to when I actually texted my mom, I feel like a little bit of time did pass. I didn't text her directly at 3 a.m. because I was like just talking with my husband, and we were just kind of seeing how things were progressing and trying to figure out what was going on. So I had texted my mom, and she encouraged us to go to the hospital to get checked, but we didn't rush out the door. I still just was not sure, and I was in pain, but it wasn't terrible. There was also time in between the contractions. I don't remember how much time, because honestly, that was just something that took a complete turn for us. Like, I don't remember the timing for everything, like in between contractions. But during this time, I was having contractions, and then there was a period of time in between, and then I would have another contraction. They were not super close, or it wasn't like feeling like it was very consistent. Or, I mean, it was consistent, but constant. Like at one point it started to begin like constant pain, and that's like when we arrived at the hospital, which we'll be getting to soon. But again, I texted my mom. We didn't rush out the door, but we did finish packing our hospital bags. For the most part, they were packed. My husband just needed to pretty much grab his clothes and put them into the hospital bag, and then grab a few more things for baby, because I had ordered like a little name sign and her little outfit, and that had just arrived the day before, which is honestly crazy thinking back now that stuff had just arrived the day before, and then it was here in time for when I gave birth to the baby. Like, that is just incredible. I'm so happy for that. But I did have the wrong size, so she looked quite small in it, but it's still okay. They are beautiful, and they're pretty much like her first little dress-up pictures, so I think it's adorable. So at this time, my mother-in-law did come to check on me, and this is where we really started timing the contractions. Because I was having those contractions where I was having a contraction. I felt like there was a pretty decent amount of time in between, and then I was having another contraction, but I felt like it started to pick up pretty rapidly where I was having a contraction, and then having a contraction, and having a contraction. So we really did start to time them at that time, and that's when I realized something was definitely happening once I was actually seeing the timing of the contractions, and I was like, okay, this is definitely a little odd. I possibly may be in labor. So I did call my doctor and tell them that we were heading to the emergency room at this time. And we did arrive at the hospital at exactly 11:12 a.m., which is crazy to me because I started having the pains and like the stomach cramping at 1 a.m. And then I went all that time, and we didn't even get to the hospital until 11:12 a.m., which, oh my goodness, that is crazy. But we did make it there. The car ride, though, was incredibly uncomfortable because by the time that we were actually there and we pulled in, the pain was so intense that I actually felt like I was going to pass out. And I just remember that feeling being so crazy because I was just in so much pain at that time. So I was wheeled in a wheelchair to labor and delivery. I changed into a gown and got hooked up to the monitors. When the nurse checked me, I was already 4 centimeters dilated, and that just blew me away because I was like, what? Like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. So I was in a lot of pain, and they did give me medicine through an IV to help with the pain. And this is when things like started to move quickly. Keep in mind, I started feeling the cramping at 1 a.m. in the morning, and then we arrived at the hospital at 11:12 a.m. So from 1 to 11:12, we were like at home. We arrived at the hospital, and once we arrived at the hospital, things went very, very fast. So my husband texted my mom to let her know that we'd be meeting our baby girl that day because the nurse did tell us, you are going to have a baby today. And I was so stunned by that. I was like, wait, we're having her today? We're gonna meet her today? I was just blown out of the water with that, because I did not expect that we were going to meet baby girl this early. And I couldn't believe it. I was filled with happiness and nerves, and I just could not believe that it was really happening, and only being 37 weeks. So since my water hadn't broke, the nurse did break it for me, and I requested an epidural. Luckily, by the time my mom arrived, they were ready to administer it. Only one person could stay in the room with me, so I did end up choosing my husband. I had heard horror stories about the epidural and the IV, but for me, they were nothing compared to the pain of the contractions, and I feel like I have a pretty high pain tolerance. And when the contractions were happening, when they first started out, I was able to go back to sleep from that 1 a.m. time period to the 3 a.m. time period. But after 3 a.m., I tried going to sleep because I was like, what is going on? Like, I was still just so, what is going on? But after 3 a.m., I couldn't really go back to sleep. I would try to fall asleep, but I just couldn't, because the pain was just increasingly getting more intense. And I feel like with going through all that pain without any type of medicine like helping me throughout that pain, by the time that I got the IV and the epidural, it was just, oh, that was a breeze. I'm okay now. And it did make me feel much, much better from the pain that I was just experiencing with all of the contractions. So once the medicine kicked in, like I said, it was such a relief. I did receive a catheter. The nurse did check me again, and I was already 7.5 centimeters dilated. Everyone was pleased with how I was progressing, but then things did take an unexpected turn. So at this point, I was already like, oh my goodness, we are here. It is happening. I could tell my husband was on edge too. Like, the nerves, the emotions, everything was just like flooding in. And things did take a very unexpected turn. So suddenly, several nurses did rush into the room. At this point in time, I had my epidural. My husband was in the room, my mother was in the room, and we were just kind of chilling a little bit. I mean, not completely. I mean, I did get that epidural, and then they were like, try to take a nap. That way you're ready for when baby arrives. I was not able to take a nap because I was just so like, whew, this is happening. But then when all of the nurses rushed into the room, we got really nervous. We did not know what was happening and what was going on. And they did try moving me into different positions because the baby's heart rate was dropping with every contraction I was having. And once they actually told me what was happening, I became so nervous. Because like I said, I was already on edge because I was only 37 weeks. I did not believe I was in labor. I did not believe this could be happening as a first-time mom. So I was really scared because at 37 weeks, you are to term, is what I was told by my doctors. So they kept trying to reassure me, but I was still very scared because I was hearing so many things about first-time moms going to 40 weeks, and then also the day before my doctor telling me that I will more than likely reach or make it to that 40-week mark. So the baby's heart rate was dropping, and it does happen, that like occurs when you're in labor, but her heart rate was really, really dropping with every contraction, and she was in distress, and nothing they tried seemed to help. I was in like so many different positions. I remember they all had like little names. I think like something about like a queen's position, I think, something like that. And we tried so many different things. And at this time, a nurse gently told me that if things did not improve, I might need a C-section. I didn't have a birth plan. Like when we went into the hospital, I didn't bring like a paper, or I did not really like have a laid out birth plan of anything specifically. My only hope was for a healthy baby. Hearing that I may need a C-section was very, very unexpected to me. I just didn't know that I was going to need that, and I honestly became very emotional, and I was nervous because just not having a birth plan, but not thinking that I wanted to have a C-section unless like I really needed to. It just really, it was hard when I heard that. And then actually, I was told that I would need a C-section, and everything began moving quickly at that point. And that was just a really hard time. I remember my mom and my husband like coming over and comforting me because I was just extremely emotional once like the decision for me needing a C-section was finalized. Like, baby was not getting better. Like, she was still in distress. Her heart rate was dropping. So they did tell me that I would need a C-section, and that's when everything began to move very quickly. I mean, everything was already moving very quickly from 11:12 a.m. Moving very quickly. So my husband was handed the mask, hairnet, and disposable scrubs. And like I said, I was just getting emotional, and once he was handed those things, that's when I became a little bit more emotional. Even like just hearing like that the C-section it's finalized, I was progressing very nicely, but just not fast enough for the baby because of how her heart rate was dropping. And it was just, they didn't know if her umbilical cord was wrapped around or what was really going on. So they just wanted to get her out because that was the safest route. So they reassured me that my husband would be right there with me. That was something that I was getting very, very nervous about. So something that I was a little scared about with the C-section, my mom did not have a C-section. She had 2 children, me and my younger sister, and she did not have a C-section. So for either of us. So growing up, I only heard about like vaginal delivery. So a C-section was something that I really didn't even look into when I was like watching like birth vlogs and everything like that, because again, it's just something I didn't really expect I needed. And something that I was so scared about is that my husband wasn't going to be there with me. I am definitely a husband's girl. I am constantly with him. He's the only person like that I am constantly needing, and it's just when I'm without him, I just feel completely weird. So I was just very nervous for that because I know with like a vaginal delivery, the husband's always right there. But for the C-section, I was a little bit nervous because I really didn't see many videos. I haven't heard many things about a C-section. So I kept asking, would he be there with me? And they did keep reassuring me that he would be right there. So at this point then, they did wheel me into the operating room, and my husband did need to wait outside during prep, but I did not know that. I thought he was in the room. Again, I had no idea like about a C-section. I had no idea what was going on. So he was not in the operating room with me, but I thought he was. But after the fact, I did realize that he then had to wait outside while they prepped me. And I thought he was just right behind me. So I was kind of laying there and kept like looking back, like, where is he? What's going on? I just kept trying to see him because I was nervous. My nerves were through the roof. I was very emotional, and I just wanted my husband to be there with me. When I did get into the operating room, the lights in the room were very bright and overwhelming. I was already on edge, and then seeing those bright lights and everybody in the room, there were so many people in there, the lights were so bright, and they actually started like prepping me. My arms were tied down, something I did not expect. Like when you have a C-section, you get your arms tied down. And my doctor, who was so kind, kept talking me through it and everything. He kept reassuring me that everything was going to be okay. It's just going to be a really quick process. We'll have the baby out. And they were asking to hold the baby up. And of course I said, yes, I wanted the baby to be held up because they put they put something in front of me, like a cloth sheet, whatever you want to call it, in front of me so that I couldn't actually see what was going on. But then when the baby was out, they'd be able to hold the baby up so that we could see the baby. And yeah, it was just so crazy. At this point in time, I feel like the story gets kind of chunky because there was so much going on that it's really hard for me to reflect and actually tell what was happening. But they did test me to make sure I was numb. And this is like the saddest part of the story because I not only did not expect to have a C-section, but I did know a little bit about a C-section. And at this point, everything changed to where it wasn't, if I had to have a C-section, this wasn't the type of C-section that I wanted to have. And when they tested me to make sure if I was numb, they asked if I could feel anything, and I could. The doctor did ask what side, and I immediately told him the right side. And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, I definitely feel something on the right side." So they did give me like more medication and tried again, like to see if I would be able to get numb on the right side. When they did try again, he asked, "Do you feel anything?" And I remember like, yes. He asked what side, and it was still on the right side. And at that point in time, I was incredibly scared because I knew a little bit about a C-section. I didn't know as much about a C-section as a vaginal delivery. I was not expecting to have a C-section, but to feel it and not be numb and not really know anything about a C-section other than the fact that you are awake and you get to see your baby, you get to have the baby like up by your neck, your chest area, but then feeling it and not being numb, and then having the decision that they wanted to put me to sleep, that was just something that I became very, very emotional with. And I was just, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. So they did decide that because the medicine was not working, I was not getting numb on my right side. Oh my goodness, this is so emotional talking about it. But I was feeling it. They had tried once, I felt it. They tried again, I still felt it. So they did decide that they would need to put me to sleep. So I was completely out then at that point. And I didn't get to say anything to my husband. I didn't get to see him. I thought he was in the room with me hearing all this. I just thought because there was so much going on in the room, so many people, I just couldn't see him. I thought he was just behind me. But he wasn't. He was actually outside the room. And honestly, looking back, like, it just makes me so sad to think that he didn't get to be in the room with me at all, and I wanted him to be so badly. But the next thing I remember was waking up with my husband right beside me and my nurse holding our beautiful baby girl. I feel like this last part of the story, it really gets to me because it was something that I did not expect, and the unexpected C-section and then everything just turning so fast, I feel like it was just an extremely hard time, but a very beautiful time too. So when I did wake up, like, I was put to sleep, and then I woke up, and of course it was so fast for me. I was put to sleep, and then I woke up. My husband was right beside me, and the nurse was holding our beautiful baby girl. And that was the first time that I did get to see her. I am so thankful that my husband was there with me. My mom was there with me to comfort my baby, our baby, being there while I was still like in the recovery. I was getting stitched up. I just went through a major surgery. I didn't get to come out and immediately meet the baby. But I'm glad that my husband, my mother was there, and they were able to comfort the baby while I was just like getting finished up from having the C-section. So Eleanor Rose was born on March 7th at 2:22 p.m. Now let's flash back real quick. I woke up on March 7th at 1 a.m. I then was able to fall back asleep. Then I woke up again at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is when I woke my husband up. And we arrived at the hospital at 11:12 a.m. And then I had the baby at 2:22 p.m. all in the same day on March 7th. So just seeing that timeline, which I know it's a chunky timeline. I don't have the times for everything, of course. But that timeline, we arrived at the hospital, and then I feel like snap of the finger, the baby was born. Like, that's just insane. So finishing off with this story here, the ending here, I did cut it a little bit short. If you want to know a little bit more about like the recovery, how I handled postpartum, I mean, I'm now a little over 4 months postpartum. If you have any types of videos like that, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. But because I knew this story, I'm a little bit of a talker. I knew it was going to get out of hand a little bit and I was going to stray in some different directions. I didn't really go too deep into like the hospital stay even, or like recovery, postpartum, anything like that. If you do want to hear more, or like maybe like a part 2 with a little bit more like bulk up the ending a little bit better, and explain and actually go through with what happened, let me know, and be sure to like this video and also subscribe, of course. But getting on to the ending, she was born March 7th at 2:22 p.m. She was 5 pounds and 2.6 ounces and 19 inches long. Tiny, perfect, and healthy. She was a very tiny baby. When I was born, I was an 8-pound baby and some ounces. I don't know exactly how many ounces, but I know I was an 8-pound baby. My husband, I believe he was a 7-pound baby, if I'm remembering correctly. And we did have a 5-pound baby at 2.6 ounces. I was born at full term, being 40 weeks. And then Eleanor was born, we also call her Ellie. So Ellie was born at 37 weeks, and she was a teeny tiny baby, and I loved her so much right from the start. And she was just my little teeny tiny babe. She is now getting so much bigger, and it is just crazy to look back at how tiny she was in the hospital. And I am a pretty small person. Throughout high school, I was 115 pounds, and I think I gained, I actually don't know how much I gained with my pregnancy. I think I was like 145 pounds at the appointment that I had the day before. I think I was 145 pounds, and like my start was maybe like 110, 115. Throughout high school, I was 110, 115 pounds, probably closer to 110, and then reached 115, 120 possibly. I really don't know how much. I've always been a smaller person, and I also felt like I didn't really gain much throughout the pregnancy, but I did get to, I believe, 145 pounds, and I think that's what I was at the day before on that appointment. So something that I did want to add to this story is, looking back, I think about how hard that moment must have been for my husband, waiting outside the OR, not knowing what was going on. Because again, I thought he was in the room with me. I did not know that he was outside. I didn't know he was outside the whole time. And just not knowing, like for me, I was put to sleep and then I was awake. But that whole time while I was having the surgery, having the C-section, my husband was just like not there with me. And when he was handed like the mask, the hairnet, the disposable scrubs, we expected he was going to be there with me. They were telling us that he was going to be there with me because they did not know it was going to take this complete turn where I was going to need to be put to sleep. So just that, looking back at that, that is extremely upsetting to me. Something else that really upsets me deep down is that I didn't get to hear her first cry or hold her on my chest right away or see the joy on my husband's face the moment she arrived. Those are things that I missed and still grieve in a small way. But in the end, I am truly grateful. She arrived safely, and that's all that truly matters. It's just something that when I think about my birth story now, or when I think about my birth plan now, I didn't expect this. It was very unexpected. It was unplanned. I did not plan to have a C-section. I didn't expect to have one. And then just thinking about the things that I missed and may not ever be able to experience with my husband, that's really hard for me, because I feel like I have always wanted to be a mother, and just knowing the simple things that may not seem like a big deal, but not being able to experience them, it can be really hard. We are very happy and thankful though that she did arrive safely, and she's a beautiful baby girl and we love her more than anything. We are so happy to have her, and these past 4 months have honestly been the best months. Like, we are so happy to have our family, and we love being parents. So my recovery did go smoothly, and we were discharged on March 10th. I did have a C-section, so I did need to stay in the hospital a little bit longer, but everything did go really well. I did actually lose quite a bit of blood, and that was something that I didn't know about until my husband told me that, like, the nurse had told him that I'm okay, but she did lose blood. And I can't imagine hearing that. Like, if I was the husband and my husband was the wife having the baby, I know that sounds so odd to say, because like, just like reversing the situation. And if I heard that, I feel like it would be so emotional, because I expected to be right there. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing that there was blood loss, but she's okay. It would just be so crazy to me. So I can't imagine how that made him feel when he heard that. There's just so many things that, like, what happened to him and like everything that was going on with him to what actually happened to me, like how it was so much faster for me because I was like put to sleep and then I was awake. But for him, he had to go through that whole process without me. He was able to see the baby, but I wasn't right there with him. So my recovery did go smoothly. We were discharged on March 10th. We brought our baby girl home and began to traverse our lives as a family of 3. And like I said, these past 4 months have been absolutely incredible. And we've been having a beautiful time together, even with our dogs as well. And I really loved sharing this story. I know the ending may be a little chunkier than throughout the whole part of it, but again, I knew this video was going to be a little long and I didn't really want to go in depth with like recovery, postpartum, at the hospital. But if you guys do want to see a part 2 with those types of details, please feel free to let me know. So before I end out this video, I do just want to say thank you so much if you have watched to this point of the video. It really means a lot to us, and you will get to meet my husband very soon. Also meet our baby very soon. I was gonna hold her throughout the video, but I just thought with talking about this, and I know it was gonna be a little bit emotional, that it would probably just be best for her to be over in her bassinet and just have it go that way. But my husband and Ellie girl, we will be like filming a video, and we have many more video ideas. Also feel free to let us know some video ideas down below in the comment section, because this is the very start to our video. If you watched this far, Thank you so much. It's truly going to help us out. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe so you guys can follow us along on our journey as a young family. We are super excited that we are finally starting this channel. I really hope you all did enjoy today's video, but as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.